Well, thank you for joining me on exercise 6E. I'm going to be looking at question 3A. And that says, given theta lies between 0 and 360 degrees. Sometimes it'll look like this. So we can either see it in words. It lies between 0 and 360 degrees. Find the value of theta such that sine of theta equals 0.6. Now, let me just make one statement here. I like to still use the tools CAST, which means all of the ratios are positive in the first quadrant. Only sine is positive in the second quadrant. Tan is positive in the third quadrant, and cos is positive in the fourth quadrant. I then like the tool that says, we're dealing with degrees, so I'll stick with degrees here. 180 minus theta in the second quadrant, 180 plus theta in the third quadrant, 360 minus theta in the fourth quadrant. And they're all positives. If there were negatives, which we don't have any negatives, we could use negative theta, but let's rub that out for now because that doesn't apply to this question. And theta is the acute angle that I'm talking about here. If we know the acute angle, you could apply it. And look, the triangles don't work for this one, the 30, 60, or 45, simply because I can see that 0.6 is not an answer that I would get if I used my triangles. So therefore, I'm going to need a calculator for this question. So let's get the calculator ready. All right. Now, let's start. Well, we told that we are going to use all four quadrants, which means from 0 all the way around to 360 degrees. Now, that's important because theta could be in quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, or quadrant 4. The next thing we look at is that sine is positive. Now, I like to ask this question. Which quadrant is sine a positive? Which quadrant is sine I didn't even spell positive right. Let's try again. Sine. Which quadrant is sine positive? Now, positive. And which quadrants is sine positive? Now, sine is positive in quadrant 2 because only sine is positive in quadrant 2. Now, sine is positive in quadrant 1 as well because they're all positive in quadrant 1. So that answers the question, which quadrants is sine positive? We're dealing with a quadrant 1 angle and a quadrant 2 angle. This is very important to establish right up front. We know that. So now we can straight away know that we're dealing with, I'll highlight the rules. We're dealing with this one in quadrant 2 and we're dealing with this one in quadrant 1. Then I like to say, well, what acute angle, that'll take me to find theta, which is a quadrant 1 angle, is sine of theta equal 0.6. So I get my calculator and I say, right, theta is the inverse sine of 0.6 to find out what that acute angle is. We're dealing with degrees, so make sure our calculator is set to degrees. That's very important. I've got RAD up here, so I've got to press DEG. Good, check. All right, so I've checked that. Now I put 0.6 and I want second function. There's an inverse sine. So 0.6 inverse sine. I'm dealing with an acute angle of approximately 36.9 degrees. That's to one decimal place. Well, there is my acute angle, and we already highlighted that our answer is in quadrant 1 or it is in quadrant 2, which means our rules in quadrant 1 is theta or it's 180 minus theta. So theta could be 36.9 degrees. That's one of the answer. Or theta could be 180 minus 36.9 degrees. And that is, what is that? I'm lazy. 180, let's make sure we get it correct. 180 minus 36.9 degrees, and it's 100, lazy aren't I? 143.1 degrees. And there it is, our two answers. It could be a quadrant 1 angle or a quadrant 2 angle. We knew that simply because sine was a positive. And since sine is a positive number, there are two quadrants where sine is positive, quadrant 1 and quadrant 2. And we just found one of the answers by using our calculator, and we get our acute angle, and then we can apply the acute angle in the other formula and get both of the answers. I hope this has helped. Until next time, stay happy.